Welcome, everyone. This is our very first live recording of our Orgasmic Birth podcast. So I want to thank all of you that are joining us live today. We have amazing guests here for you. And the Orgasmic Birth podcast is something that we are really proud of. We've been running about 2.5 years now. And especially at this time, if you've been following the news the last couple of weeks, we've been getting a lot of articles coming out, including in the New York Times, about overuse of technology. We have the science, we have the evidence. Why aren't we implementing it? And I have to say, that feels like the same thing with pleasure. We have the science, we have the evidence. Why aren't we including pleasure in our preparation for birth and parenting? And I like to say it is the missing element of modern childbirth. So today we're going to explore why our documentary Orgasmic Birth, the subheader is the best kept secret. And I feel that's true of pleasure. We just haven't really focused on it. And so we want to really talk about how do we bring it back and transform experiences for parents, for partners, and for professionals, because as we bring pleasure into the birthplace, it's not just for women, partners, birthing people, it's really for everyone. We see a difference in how the whole team, midwives, nurses, doctors, doulas, everyone interacts. So I'd like to welcome our amazing panel. Each one of them holds a very special place in my heart. So I'm going to ask them each to do their own intros because they each have so much to tell you about. And we're going to start off with Theresa Lasbrey Peters. Theresa, can you share a little bit about all that you do?
Hello, I'm Theresa Lasbrey Peters. I'm a birth and postpartum doula, certified lactation counselor, and international board certified lactation consultant candidate. I've been in the birth world for over a decade. I'm the mother of two. I am an orgasmic birth practitioner. I am certified in many, many, many things. Orgasmic birth seems to be my most favorite. And I love what I do. I'm at births all the time. I'm at postpartums all the time. And I get to continuously have babies all the time without having to raise them. It's the best job.
That is the best. Thank you so much, Theresa. And next, Bettina Zagoni, you're coming in from Hungary today. So extra special. And we didn't say, Theresa, you're in New York City.
I'm in New York City, specifically the Bronx.
Thank you. And Bettina.
Hi everyone. I'm Tina. I'm from Hungary. I was 23 years old when I started this journey to the world of birth, and I was 23 when I read the Orgasmic Birth. I was amazed. I was like, what? It's maybe something too much for me to handle first, the idea. But when I read the book and then after I dived deeper, I just realized that it's really a missing element. I really believe in my work. I do a lot of teaching and educating, and I believe in preventing work. That means that my wish is to work with the younger generation as well, who know that they are planning to be mothers, and I really want them to know their bodies and to have access to the concept of orgasmic life and orgasmic birth. I'm a doula, a yoga teacher, women circle facilitator, and of course, I'm an orgasmic birth practitioner. I really enjoy spreading this not new but ancient wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bettina, and welcome. And someone else so special, Alejandra Lozano, she's going to tell you all about herself, but I also have to say she's our Orgasmic Birth social media maven. She's been part of our team for a long time. But Ali, you do so much as an amazing midwife too. So please, can you share? And you're coming from Mexico.
Yes, hello, thank you so much. Yes, I'm Alejandra. I'm actually living in Monterrey, Mexico. I'm a midwife. I recognize myself as an autonomous midwife. And also I work with different types of techniques that comes from traditional medicine in Mexico. I also am an autonomous and contemporary midwife. It's been a long journey to become a midwife in my country, and I'm very excited. It's like the most important thing for me, being a midwife. I'm also a doula, a childbirth educator, lactation support person, but the most important thing for me is that I'm a midwife and I'm also a mother of a son that he's already 13 years old. So, yes, I'm very proud of him. It's important to say that I'm considering myself as a slow midwife. It's like I'm going very slow, trying to go against like the fast rhythm of the cities. And I think that's one of the most important things that I'm doing right now, like going slow with my clients. And also we're going to talk about it, but that's giving me a lot of pleasure, to me and to my clients also. I'm a very proud midwife. And also I think the most important certifications that I have is like that I am an orgasmic birth practitioner. I think that's the one that I have that is okay, this is the one. But for me is the midwife, orgasmic birth practitioner, and that's it. So thank you for this invitation. I think it's very important for me to be here because we are in a moment that we need to make it big. This is the moment of bringing back, pleasure in a lot of ways. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Ale. And I love your term slow midwife. That is so beautiful and leads us well into this discussion. So, last, I'll just share about me. I am the host of the Orgasmic Birth Podcast. I created the Orgasmic Birth Practitioner program, but I wear, like I like to say, many hats, like all of you here, right? From a filmmaker to a doula trainer and an educator. I also co-chair the International Childbirth Initiative and chair of the International Mother Baby Childbirth Organization as well. So have about 40 years now working around the world in birth and really seeing the gaps that we keep having, as I said in the intro, right? We know that we're overusing valuable technology too many times, and we're underusing so many things like pleasure and all the different comfort measures and ways that we can support a gentler, safer, easier birth. So I'm honored to be hosting this podcast today and this discussion. And I love to just open this up to our panel. What does pleasurable birth mean to you in your work?
When I was introducing myself, I didn't tell you my greatest accomplishment. One of my greatest accomplishments is giving birth to 2 children pain-free. And I don't know if I would exactly categorize it as pleasurable. It was triumphant. It was victorious. It was exhilarating. And I would do it again every day. Well, at least once a week, right? People don't usually talk about birth like that, right? So birth is supposed to be excruciating and all of these things. And it can be, and it is work, but it can be like running a marathon. It can be challenging, but there are different modalities, there are different ways to ensure that the process isn't harrowing, that it isn't trauma. So one of the wonderful things that I enjoyed about our orgasmic birth practitioner work and our coursework and our just discussions and lectures was just how we are exposed to all the modalities, all types of ways that we can really create a birthing experience that is pleasurable. So for me, the aftermath, just having the babies was challenging and invigorating, and it wasn't something that I was afraid of. And then afterward, it was ecstatic. So I'm sure that there was lots of pleasure there in the making, in the having, and in the raising.
So beautiful what you shared, Teresa. So beautiful. I wish to share as well that for me, pleasurable birth is when we accept the pain, accept the hardship of birth, but we shift our focus to pleasure and joy and to this sacredness that we can experience. And of course, what I always tell, that environment is so important. Of course, for some women, and I was one of these women as well, it wasn't easy in my past to open myself for pleasure, to experience pleasure in birth. And I experienced pleasure in birth, not in that ways that I had really like an orgasm like in when I have sex. It was rather like a spiritual orgasm, or I really remember the feeling, how I felt my baby's body just going through the birthing canal and just leaving my body. And that feeling was an expanding feeling. But I really needed the environment and the knowledge and the experience about pleasure and about my own body before my birth. What I liked in the practitioner training as well, that you, Deborah, always ask us what is our definition. And this is what I try to bring as well when I'm talking about pleasurable birth. First asking that what is pleasurable life for you, and what do you think would be a pleasurable birth for you? And just letting the woman decide if it's something about her body, or is it something, about the feelings and the transformation into motherhood, so into them.
So beautiful. Thank you, Bettina and Theresa, too. So, Ali, could I ask you, how does integrating pleasure shift outcomes for women, birthing people, and partners?
For me, the most important thing is like life becomes much more pleasurable in a lot of ways. And then when you start having a focus, as Bettina was saying, like you focus on the pleasure in your life, and then you start having like this possibility of seeing what is around you that makes you feel pleasure in life. And it can be like simple things, like watching a tree or maybe walking on the earth without shoes and stuff like that. Then you start connecting with a part that is always there, but it's not always obvious that is there. And then we shift into that, and then we start having like these deep conversations about what's pleasure and how we can transform every moment into that. Because we know that birth have an intensity, and sometimes it's very painful for some women. So it's not like you're not gonna have an intense process, but you can always like shift inside of your mind the sensation of, okay, when the contraction goes away, then it's like you release. And it's like, oh, the sensation is so good. And then we focus on that. And then I've been watching that after focusing on this type of things, the pleasure becomes bigger. And also in my life as a midwife, my midwifery is becoming more pleasurable in every birth and in all the conversation. And if I'm having pleasure, I will bring pleasure to my customers and to my clients and to all the women that I'm with. And yes, definitely I can see how this starts like to bring a deep connection with this. It's just the beginning, this like very external pleasure, and then you start going deep. And then we're talking about life journeys. It's not like a thing that we can see, but if we start having conversation with this woman through the years, we will see how their life actually is becoming more pleasurable. So it's very interesting. And we need to have like a follow up in the next years to see how life is changing in a very profound way. And also, this has a lot of benefits in the way they connect with the partners and also in the way they connect with the babies. And that's amazing how we can start watching these changes in the life of the families that we get to connect to the pleasurable sensations during birth.
Yeah. So beautifully said. And I love how that just keeps expanding, right? From your clients to you, and it expands in all our lives. So, another question, maybe back to Theresa there. How has this perspective changed how you prepare your clients? Are you doing anything different now that you're an orgasmic birth practitioner and you're doing so much work with pleasure and intimacy?
I would say that when I first entered into this work, I was not an orgasmic birth practitioner, and I had heard about it and I'd heard that it was possible, but I wasn't necessarily able to convey to people that there was a possibility of having a baby that wasn't necessarily traumatic, that wasn't the worst pain you've experienced in your life. And doing this work has given me the language and the ability to convey this good news that it's possible that you may not have an orgasm, because that's not the key, that's not the intention. And it may be challenging and there may be discomfort, but that it's fleeting. So I've been able to hone my language and help myself and my clients conceptualize the ways in which they can mitigate discomfort and really be present and go through the phases and stages of birth without it taking them away from their intention to cherish this experience of having this baby. And I think that it's important to understand, like, what is a pleasurable birth, as we did in one of the first slides when we talked about what is a pleasurable birth. A pleasurable birth to me is not the same as a pleasurable birth to someone else or to a client. So a pleasurable birth is what you make of it. And for some people, it's getting through it. It is finding ways to be distracted, finding ways to allay fear and concern. So I would say that having done this work and pulling together the resources that we got from our training, I have been able to really communicate clearly and give people options. Because, what is freedom other than having options, having choice? That's pretty much what it is for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Theresa. So many nuggets in there, right? And I love all the different ways that you're expanding that perspective and for you, and that helps how you prepare your clients, and it changes your clients' perspectives. So I'd love, Bettina, to ask you, what misconceptions have you encountered around orgasmic birth? I know that's a one we get a lot, right? What do people think orgasmic birth is?
Yeah, I remember when I finished the practitioner training, I made a post about orgasmic birth, and the first comment that came in was, do we have to sexualize everything? It was from a woman, and I really empathized her, and I really felt what she's talking about, because we have seen our bodies and our sexuality and our femininity always through what we learned about society things, what, maybe through the lenses of man as well. And I just felt the need to just save some places where there is no such sexualizations. And then I really understood that I have to go deeper and go a little bit more behind, and first just free the women, free somehow this concept in our minds that connecting to our sexuality has always something about sex. What Teresa and Ale shared as well, that you decide what pleasurable and orgasmic birth for you means. And it's not something you have to experience. It's just an opportunity. It can be a tool for you to shift your focus from pain to pleasure, to not just move your body, how you learned in, for example, when you are preparing, you are taking childbirth preparing class and you learn more about breathing techniques and how to move your body. You just put pleasure in as well and move your body, not just because you have to move your body like this or you have to breathe like this to help your baby, rather than feel this pleasure and feel this flow when you are doing it, if you are ready for it, if you are craving it at that moment.
Thank you, Bettina. And it's so wonderful to hear how you put that post out there and we're able to really empathize and feel that, because I think we all can agree, right? We don't want this as one more thing women have to feel sexualized in. So much to open up here. And I am going to ask Allie, what shifts have you seen personally or professionally since embracing this kind of model of pleasure and orgasmic birth?
Yes, as I was saying, I think one of the most important things for me is like having the chance to bring the possibility to women of a lot of new options into their processes. And I think this is like you bring some things like to the table. Imagine you're having like an amazing meal, and then you bring other things that are new. But always when I bring these things talking about maybe having pleasure on your own, or touching yourself, or doing stimulation in your clitoris, or maybe connecting with your body in different ways, I always get the same answers. That is like, oh, that has a lot of sense. That, oh, yes, definitely. Because when you're having the contraction, then the uterus, and then the movement, and then the stuff, it's like that we have the information, because being part of the orgasmic practitioner give us a lot of tools, and we have all these like new things and information, and then when you bring them, people always connect so easily. Is not something that is really hard to do. You just need to know the things and the possibilities. And then it also change your perspective, because as Teresa was saying, pleasure is not the same for everyone. Every person have a different way of like enjoying. So it's good to also start to recognize that. And I was watching a video, a story that you shared with me, Deborah, about the diversity of the clitoris and how they are so different in every woman. And that means that pleasure is going to be different in every woman. So we don't have like a recipe for like every pleasurable thing. We only have tools, and it's good to also then after the process ask the questions. As a professional caregiver, ask the question. How was this tool working for you? How did you feel? Maybe in the first birth you used a lot of stimulation, but in the second one you were having like a more emotional deep process, and you didn't use the stimulation, but you still had like a pleasurable birth. So I think it's a moment where we need to start having conversation about how it was for you, and like having more conversations about it, so we can understand. I like to connect this pleasure, for me, is like traditions, because when we use traditions like sobada or rebozo, it's very different. And it's the same, it's going to be the same with pleasure. And every birth is different. So we just need to bring the conversation and start talking about all this diversity of ways of feeling. So I think, yes, that actually the change is like I have much more questions and much more curiosity, about the pleasure in every person. But yes.
I love that. That was a great way to say it. More curiosity, right? More questions. There's so much to consider here. And Teresa, I'm going to come to you with this one. What do you wish more care providers understood about birth and pleasure? Wow, right?
I wish they would be less afraid. People tend to provide care in terror, and then they convey to people. So instead of having health care, we have health scare, as you say, Deborah. That there can be pleasure even in pockets, right? In moments. There can be music, there can be connection, there can be kissing, like the things that make the baby usually help the baby come out. And if you didn't make the baby that way, the things with someone you love during the process of having the baby can really bring you from a place of fright to a place of delight, right? So I would say that I wish more providers trusted that birth works, that your body works, and that they don't have to intervene, that birthing people and women's bodies are not broken and they don't have to do things. They can sit back and enjoy the experience. And when they enter into an experience that isn't highly interventionist, things usually go really well. Things tend to go haywire when they start trying to fix things. And then they have to fix what they tried to fix. So they have to keep trying to fix the thing that they have to fix. It's kind of like that children's story where there was like a mouse and they got a cat and then they got another bigger thing and another bigger thing to deal with the problem until everything was out of control. And so it's like, oh, let's break the bag of waters, but now we're worried about infection. Oh, let's have an induction, but now we're worried about, I don't know, your uterus being overstimulated. It's just like, I wish we would dial it down, smooth it out, turn down the lights physically and internally, and just relax and really be attentive and intentional. So what I would love for providers to do is to trust people who birth, trust women's bodies, and trust that they know what pleasure is for them. And maybe these providers can focus on what is it about birth that is pleasurable for them. And maybe that would make the difference.
Thank you. I share that with you. What a good wish list. What do you wish more caregivers understood? Yeah.
I wish that care providers understood that pleasure is a tool for dealing with pain. We have a conference here in Hungary for non-pharmacological tools around birth to help to women and birthing people, partners, to deal with pain. And I was imagining, we need to have this conversation on this conference as well, that we never talk about pleasure as a tool for pain relief, but we know that it is, because we know that orgasms help with pains. We have a lot of research. We even have the experience ourselves sometimes that how not just a little touch, maybe sometimes it's enough just a touch to feel this pain relief. But sometimes that's an orgasm that helps us with some headache or with menstrual problems. And so this is what I wish, that just understand that women or birthing people needs their right and their access to their own pleasure during birth, because it's crucial for dealing with pain. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
share all of these wishes too.
Yes, I think one of my wishes that I think it should be like a requirement for all the doctors to witness a genuine physiological birth before attending births, because they are truly light years away from understanding what happens during childbirth. And I think it's like we bring like the balls and like the yoga mats and like the water, but they just don't understand. It's like, okay, I will give you these tools and then it's going to be a physiological birth. No, it's not, because if you start like interrupting like the process and coming and going in the lights and not leaving, woman to express their sensations, because birth is very sexual, but if you're not comfortable with your sexuality, then you're not going to be able to understand and to let the woman experience that. You're going to feel uncomfortable, and then you will have the need inside to stop that. And it's like we need to feel safe. I know we are like very far away from that, but we need to start having the conversations. As midwife, they ask a lot of requirements for us, to understand like clinical skills, but they don't have any requirements of understanding birth. So it's very interesting how we are like in a moment where things are not having any sense at all. But I hope in the future I invite all the doctors to like look for the midwife and start going to births with them to just like take a look to birth.
Fantastic. Wonderful wish list from the three of you. And so, how did participating in the Orgasmic Birth Practitioner program shift your perspective or practice around pleasure in birth? I just want to open it up if anyone has anything else you'd like to share on how being part of our global community, as you're all from around the world too, has had an impact. Theresa.
I would say just like an expansion of education and resources. So for instance, it was in this course that I learned the potential physical structure of a clitoris, that it wasn't just a button and just that was hooded button that was right there, but that it was like all these nerves that went throughout your body and that it was interconnected. Like, so it wasn't disconnected and it was integral. And then just learning about how when a baby's head goes past things and like what the impact of an episiotomy is, what the impact of those alterations might be, and then what the purpose is of this part of your body, that it's not just simply for orgasms and pleasure, it's part of the birthing process. It's so close to the birthing canal that it has to be part of it. An expansion of my knowledge and my resources, because I do come into this work very knowledgeable about what I'm very knowledgeable about, but no idea about what I didn't know. And, I didn't know that I didn't know this. And so I can bring this information. And what I love to do with my clients is bring good news. So when I learn something new and exciting, I like to bring it to them. And so then they have more choices, more options, more ways that they can look at things. Really, I think ultimately this work is about addressing birth, just looking at birth from different perspectives, like truly a 360-degree perspective. There is a place for a medicalized birth. There is a place for a home birth. There's a place for a birth center birth. There's a place for us all, and there's a place for pleasure in all those experiences. That was my experience with this course, really having that expansion, knowing that it was available.
Thank you, Theresa. And I'll open it up now to Ali and Bettina if you want to answer that or talk about any impact that this being part of the Orgasmic Birth Practitioner program has had on your community in any way, or the way that you support your clients.
For me, yeah, everything what Teresa just said, I can totally agree. And thank you for all the resources and for all the amazing teachers you invite, really. And for me, the confidence. Before I entered this program with you, I knew about orgasmic birth. And of course, somehow I always try to incorporate that into my work. But after and through the training, I got more and more confidence. And for example, before the training, if I saw that someone is open for this information, I shared. But now I always share. And it's not like, of course I listen and of course I feel the signs that is it something that the woman on birthing partner is interested in, but I always bring this in. And I always share this simple thing, what I found out that women don't think about, that you give birth through your vagina. We all know that, but somehow we just forget that. And we never connect to our vaginas and never touch that place that, yeah, this is the place where my baby will enter the world. And this is fantastic. So, yeah, I invite more and more women into this practice to connect with their vaginas and with their yonis. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful words. Thank you. And Ale.
Yes, well, I think working with you through all these years is like you've been gathering a lot of information about orgasmic birth. It's like you have a library with all this information, and I think all the doulas, midwives, doctors, nurses, and everyone must like take a look, because if you didn't make all this work through all these years, we've been like losing a lot of time searching like on our own, but you already gather all this information, and then when we have all like this program and we get in, we have the opportunity to talk about it. It's not just like you have the information, but you also have the time to discuss about it and talk about your questions and stuff. And also another important thing about this program is like it changed in every season. You have different people coming, and you have like evidence that is different all the time. So I think it's a huge opportunity to actualize yourself in all this orgasmic information. So it's an orgasmic bird library, and when I want to have like new information, I go to your podcast and I say, okay, but I go deep, and I see like an expert and I say like, I'm going to listen to this, and then I go into the professional profile, and then I read like the other things that they've been writing, and then you have like a lot of information to do a lecture. So I think people need to recognize this, like if you have the chance, take the program, talk about it, so we can have these subjects as natural as we talk about birth, as we talk about breastfeeding. These need to become like natural language, talking about orgasmic birth and sexuality and stuff like that. And starting with us as a healthcare providers, and then to the mothers and to the grandmothers and to all the people around. So we need to start doing that.
Thank you so much. I have tears from all of your words and how, yes, I like that thought. We've compiled this huge library and a huge community. It's each of you. It's all the other people in our orgasmic birth community. We're almost 100 people around the world now in our community. Doctors, nurses, midwives, doulas, educators, lactation consultants, pelvic floor therapists. It's amazing community. And we'd like to invite all of you that are here into our community. We're starting our next live session. We only have them twice a year. So this is our last one for 2025, starting December 1st. Those of you that are looking for continuing education units, you do get 6 of them, and you have the opportunity to become a recognized orgasmic birth practitioner, as all our guests are today. We are a global community spanning around the world. We'd love to see even more countries in here now, and I think we will. We always invite special guest teachers in. So this session, we have Britt Foreman. She's an embodiment teacher, coach, birth educator, photographer, and she helps people cultivate embodiment and expand pleasure in multiple ways. Elizabeth Balazza was actually one of our guests in the past, and we all loved her so much that we're inviting her back. She's a reproductive anthropologist and maternal health researcher, and she has done the very first birth pleasure study. And this is fabulous because we're finally getting more data, and her study is wonderful. We'll get a behind the scenes look at her research. We also will hear from her. She has a PhD in human sexuality. And Tilly Storm is someone that also has been with us in the past to such rave reviews. We're bringing her back. She is a somatic sex and intimacy coach for women who lack desire desire or pleasure in the bedroom and beyond. She's the host of the Multi-Orgasmic Millionaire podcast, so someone to check out with a background in Taoism and Tantra. And so Tilly will be taking us deeper into aspects of sexuality. A lot of times in our program, we're learning even more about our bodies. We're bringing healing, and we have a huge library of guest teachers from the past. So soon as you join, you access this huge reservoir of a library of talks from other sessions. And then going forward, you have 10 weeks, right? They're 90-minute sessions that are live with Q&As. You get that vault that I talked about. You get the live sessions with this time's guest teachers, with me, and with all of our community. And enrollment is open. And this is my fun bonus that I'm so excited about for this time. If you've been following us, you know that we have something brand new. It is the Fin Pleasure Vibe. We partnered with Dane, women's pleasure and sensuality and sexuality company. We have the first vibrator that we're really doing a lot of work on to be perfect for pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And so you can see it on the screen. I'll hold it up here so you can see. It looks very much like a yoni. It is small, so it slides right into your hand. That means it's really good if you're in a place where someone was to come into your space without knocking, which I hope they wouldn't do. But if they did, you could easily hide this within your hand. But it's 5 speeds, fully waterproof, charges with a cell phone charger. It does come with that cord as well. And it is so silky soft, you honestly could use it anywhere. It's good for your shoulders, your back, and certainly for your clitoris and labia. And we have data. If you purchase it, there's a scannable, or if you sign up for the course, you'll get it free. If you scan the code, it goes to a lot of resources on how to use it safely in pregnancy, labor, and birth. So I love, we say pleasure at your fingertips. And it really is groundbreaking. So we hope that whether you join us or not, but we hope you join us, you'll at least share about the Fin Pleasure Vibe. We are doing follow-up surveys and research on the people that are using it, and we're getting amazing stories. If you're listening to our podcast, you're hearing some great stories of people with self-pleasure too. We really hope that you will consider joining us for this next session. And we'd love to open it up. I'm going to ask anyone if you have comments, questions, feedbacks, questions for any of our guests. And Sarah, thank you for being here with us. She's saying, I did the last training in May and loved it. I look forward to each session and found that my doula practice and my personal life were enriched. Love spending time learning. Oh, thank you. Thank you all for being part of the change and guiding others from fear to pleasure. Thank you, Christy, for that comment. We really appreciate it.
I could share. So
Thank you.
I was with the inaugural cohort of orgasmic birth practitioners, and I have been in every single cohort since then. I stick around because the information is constantly evolving. The experts are top tier. And so the experts that you see on the Orgasmic Birth podcast are the people that you may see teaching a session of the practitioner program. And why not constantly surround yourself with the richness of this information and with a community that absolutely supports this possibility that isn't common. It's not the common belief that birth can be pleasurable. When I say to people, oh, it wasn't painful for me, and they're like, oh, what, like, can that be? And I don't expect it not to be painful for you, but it can be possible, or it can be whatever you want it to be. It's been a great experience gathering more knowledge to add to my toolbox. Like Ale said, really it's about tools, right? And one of our teachers was Ale. So we learned about rebozo and sobada and just all these different techniques that Mexican parteras, midwives bring to the birthing process when they're out, taking care of people and not expecting a hospital transfer, right? So those are really pioneer midwives. They are there out on the frontier making it happen in a place that's very hostile to, vaginal birth. And I would say that we live in a place that is very hostile to it, but they're just much more sophisticated about, sharing that information. So I would say that this course makes a difference because you get the language around this thing that people don't really talk about, and it takes the shame out of it because sexuality, smutty, right? It doesn't have to be, unless you like that, that's fine too. But sexuality doesn't have to be shameful and hidden. I think it's part of everything. Just think about what happens when you kiss someone you love. What happens when you snuggle your baby? The same contractions in your uterus, the same palpitations in your heart, the same rising in your temperature, the same flush of blood. It all happens using the same exact hormones, right? So the experience of love is something that is something that propels birth forward, right? Oxytocin is love, is the bonding hormone, and you experience it when you're kissing, falling in love, hugging, cuddling, making love, having an orgasm, and having a baby, because that's what causes contractions. It is not helpful to then go, oh no, I don't want any of these things, when those are the very things that help you get through this process, this experience peacefully and beautifully. So that's what I think.
Oh, thank you so much, Theresa.
But my Hungarian sisters here. So I just want to say from everyone listening from Hungary or being here from Hungary that I don't want to be the only one orgasmic birth practitioner in Hungary. I share a lot of what Debra is talking about and all the amazing teachers are talking about in this course, but I really recommend this for you.
So thank you so much, Bettina. A great way to end our call, right? To say that we want to welcome all of you. I think we all have a role to play in helping childbirth around the world and parenting to be safer, to have more respect, and to bring pleasure in. It is really sadly missing and very much needed today. And I hope that all of you that joined us live, we always love to hear your comments and feedback. For those who are listening to the podcast after, you are always in our hearts and our thoughts, and we'd love to hear from you. So whether it's putting a post on social and tagging us, responding to the email, reaching out in whatever way works for you. And we are waiting to welcome you all into our Orgasmic Birth Practitioner community. We are here waiting so that you can be in these live discussions and have a community around you for lifetime that will continue to support you and share and learn and grow together. So thank you to all our guests, Theresa, Ale, Bettina, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for joining and sharing your wisdom, your love, and for being orgasmic birth practitioners and spreading the pleasure around the world.
Thank you.